Thanks for tuning in to the next video in this series on the Spiritforged Set Review. In this video, we're going over the Fury cards, the red cards from the card gallery that have been spoiled, and giving them, if you haven't watched these videos before, giving them a rating A, B, or C. The ratings correspond to something like A being a powerhouse, a staple in the meta, and we'll see lots and lots of play. B means the card will be a filler, like you'll see it in some decks, but it's kind of just taking up a slot and isn't overly powerful. It's just a good general all-round card. And C being essentially an unplayable rating. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of these Fury cards and rate them based on my initial impressions, and I'll give you some of the thinking and reasoning behind it. And then in a few weeks after we get some games under our belt, we'll come back and revisit these ratings and see if anything's changed. So these are purely subjective, right? I'm no expert, so I've got a competitive Magic the Gathering background, and a lot of my experience and valuation of these cards comes from that sort of lens. And I'm very open to criticism, and if you think I've missed something or you think that I'm completely wrong about a card, please let me know in the comments or in the discussions and stuff wherever you're watching this vid. All right, let's get into it. There's quite a lot of cards to get through, and I don't want this to drag out, so let's just power through these things. The first card, against all odds, reaction, give a friendly unit out of battlefield +2 this turn for each enemy unit here. Initial impressions of this, it's interesting. We now have a reaction speed spell that can be used on defense. A lot of the red kind of combat tricks or Fury combat tricks are Assault 3 and equivalent. This one can be used on defense as well, which is an upside for it. Initially, the base rate is 2 for 2 might, and if they're coming in with multiple units, that's when we kind of get the extra value from this. Just because of the red battle sort of way the battlefields and fights play out, I think red's a lot more offensive than this card. So I think we're going to be leaning more on the things like Cleave and Blood Rush, which we'll see in a second, than this card, unless there's something like, you know, lots of token strategies and go wide archetypes in the meta. If that happens, that means that we get more value from this, and maybe we'll see this start coming into some decks. So it's not a bad card in general. I'm going to give it a B. I don't think it's going to be a staple anywhere, and I don't think we're going to see much of it. Alright, next one is Armed Assailant. Now this one's 6 might unit for 6 energy and a power. It's got Accelerate and Weapon Master. In terms of value for cost, this is, you're paying a lot for the 6 might. So typically 5 to 6 energy should get you around 6 might. You then have to pay additional if you want to accelerate it. I'd expect something of this cost to be kind of enter ready or accelerate automatically, or like inclusive of that cost. And so what you're really paying here is 1 Fury or one power for the Weapon Master characteristic, and a lot of the cheaper things like Lucian and so on have Weapon Master inbuilt for their cost. So this is a very overcosted card for what you get, and I don't think that this will see much play at all. So this will be a C. This could become interesting in new sets. It's a Noxus unit. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of clan/guild Noxus type decks that benefit those type units, similar to what Mech does. But at the moment, this is pretty rubbish in my opinion. Next up is Blood Rush. We've got an action with Repeat 1 that gives a unit Assault 2. This is quite a flexible card if you compare it to what's already in the meta, which is something like Cleave. You get a little bit less value. So Cleave is 1 for 3 Assault. This is 1 for 2 Assault. But the flexibility is that you can repeat it and potentially go to 4. I think that the flexibility is actually going to tip it just a little bit ahead of Cleave. There's a lot of instances where you do have multiple units in base and you want to repeat and go left and right with 1 each, and You can also still just play repeat on the same unit and give it Assault 4. The only kind of time that I think Cleave will be better is if the meta shakes out to have a certain kind of, 5 might unit breakpoint level where you want to make sure that 3 gets over it. So let's say that all of your units are 2 might or 3 might, and you need the Cleave to be super energy efficient to get over 5 might units. So yours goes to 6. But we won't see that until the meta shakes out and all the units that people are playing kind of stabilize, and we'll figure out what the breakpoints are. But until then, I think Blood Rush the flexibility is just a massive upside, and this is definitely an A tier card, and we'll see lots of play in both the main red decks like Draven and Rek'Sai, and potentially Annie even as well. We'll skip over the gold token. Bushwhack. This one is friendly units enter ready this turn, play a gold gear token exhausted. Essentially, you're getting your gold or power back from playing this card, whether it's from hidden or from hand. Friendly units enter ready. My initial impressions of this is that I don't rate it very highly, but there could be some decks that it becomes really powerful in. The enter ready mechanic, whether it's things like Sundisk or Accelerate, is actually really powerful, but it's hard to kind of value. I don't know if you're going to be playing this thing with just 1 unit follow-up or 2 units follow-up. It may be enough to swing some key turns, but at the moment I don't really see it. It's a cool card, but I'm going to give it a B- for my initial impressions. Next up is Detonate. 1 and a power for Killer Gear. Its controller draws 2. I think this is going to see a fair bit of play. The red strategies don't really care if your opponents go up on cards. It's a tool that red hasn't had access to for a while, so we did have the purple or the chaos 1 cost gear removal, but it wasn't targeted. So one of them is just return a gear to hand, and the other one is actually like the opponent can choose which one they want to destroy. This one's targeted, which is a lot more upside, and a lot of the time you're not going to care about its controller draws 2 part if you're putting like insane amount of pressure on your opponent with your kind of aggressive strategy. So this is going to see some play. It's red really lacks the tools for dealing with gear at the moment, outside of like things like Thermo Beam. So we'll see where this shakes up. I'm going to give it a B+. It's obviously not crazy powerhouse, but it's a tool that red needs, and we're going to see it in a lot of decks, or at least a lot of sideboards. Next one, Eager Drakehound. Iron ready, 3 energy and a power for a 3 might unit. Another way you can look at this is something like a 2 energy for a 3 might unit with Accelerate that you have to kind of pay Accelerate for. This is kind of priced at a point that I think it's playable. It's a little bit overpriced for what you want to be doing on turn 2 with these Fury decks, but if you go, let's say turn 1, Traveling Merchant or a Pouty Poro or something like that, and then turn 2 you can go to 1 battlefield with this and the other one with your existing units, so it allows you to double conk on the same turn on turn 2, but you do have to pay a power for it. So it kind of fills the role of like a sneaky deckhand in the Annie deck. There's upside of that. It enters ready, so you can play it to a contested battlefield essentially by playing it in base and then starting a combat at the battlefield that's controlled by your opponent, which sneaky can't do. But the downside is you've got to pay a power for it, which I think is quite a high price. So I'll give it a B again. This doesn't stand out to be a huge powerhouse, but I think we might see it in 1 or 2 decks as a filler slot. All right, next up, Gem Gemmer. 2 energy for a 2 might unit, already on rate. When you play a unit, or when you play me, give a unit ganking this turn. This is quite strong, actually. It's definitely going to see play. It's you know, a pseudo point tempo card. If you're at one battlefield, you can play this in base and gank across. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's a unique effect that's kind of like a toolbox type thing where you want to sandbag it for the turn that you need it, hold it in hand and just play it out when you need to get across and keep your point tempo up and your pressure up. So I'm going to give this one a minus. I think it sits in the A category, that we're definitely going to see it in a lot of decks and it's going to cause people problems. It's not super amazing on rate, especially after you've utilized its ability. It's just a 2 might unit, but sometimes that's all you need with all of your pump spells and gear and equipment and stuff to turn it into something useful late game. So A minus for Gem Gemmer. Sentinel Adept. Here's what I was saying before. This is a 3 energy unit for a 3 might, and it has Weapon Master. So that other one that we're playing, well, not the other one we're playing, the other one that we looked at before, which was an extra power just for the Weapon Master and Accelerate. It's not really worth it. This is more on rate. This may see some play in the like Lucian types as a filler card. It's not crazy strong by rate. It'll be a B. It'll just be a filler in the Lucian decks, if anything. Serrated Dirk. Now this one's I think it's kind of sleeper. It's 1 energy equipment, Assault 2, but 0 power. But still, Assault 2, this kind of just puts it in a aggressive strategy type deck. And you'll see in a minute that I think a lot of the cheap stuff in Fury gets extra value because of things like Rek'Sai being able to play stuff from the top of your library essentially, but also like some synergistic stuff like this Battering Ram, which we'll get to in a second, which makes things cheaper. So I think any of the cheap 1 or 2 energy Fury cards need to be looked at, and this one gives an okay benefit or upside for its cost, and so I'm sure it's going to see play as well. Serrated Dirk, let's give that a B+, I think. Void Drone, cost 2 less to play from anywhere other than your hand. Obviously this is a Rek'Sai type card. Wanting to play it from the top of your library off Rek'Sai or Void Rush. In terms of rate, it's not very strong. Like it's at rate, if not slightly less. So 3 for a 3 might, you want it to do something sort of a little bit more impactful than just be a body. And here, even if you do play it off the top of your library, it'll still just be a body. So it's sort of in the same ballpark as Flame Chompers, in that you can cheat it out for cheaper. This one's got upside in that it's not a power to play it, so you can continue with development even if you get it out cheap, which is good, but it's a little bit more difficult to cheat out, so there's lots of discard stuff for Flame Chompers. But Void Drone, at the moment there's only a few cards that allow you to kind of reveal and play stuff from other zones. So right now I think this one falls in a B-, even a C+ tier, where it looks kind of good for that Rek'Sai deck, but when you play it out, it doesn't really do anything impactful. So I'd much rather any kind of like equipment or Cleave or Blood Rush or something like that off the top instead of Void Drone. Okay, Angle Shot. 2 energy for a reaction spell. Choose a unit and an equipment with the same controller. Attach the equipment to that unit, or detach the equipment from that unit. Draw 1. Because it's a reaction, it allows you to kind of equip at react speed and draw 1. It's difficult to tell if this is going to be strong or not. I mean, the red or the fury type equipment like longsword and so on, a couple of them have quick draw already, so don't think this is adding any benefit to that. You could look at something like Rek'Sai colors or Darius colors, where you can play this and equip things like BF swords and so on. I think it's just a waste of 2 energy in my opinion. Like this isn't that strong. There may be some crazy equipment cards that come out that make this, that increase the value of this, but initially my impressions aren't very good, so I'm going to give this a C. I don't think we'll see much ankle shots being played. Alright, battering ram, 5 energy, 5 might, gets cheaper. This is quite a strong card. In a lot of decks you'll be doing things like discarding flame chompers and playing seals and little one might or 1 power, sorry, 1 energy equipments, and this becomes really cheap really fast, and it's just a big body. You kind of put it in the same sort of thing as like Noxus Hopeful, where you get discounts for playing stuff, and Noxus Hopeful's already a solid unit. I think for this new set, 5 might's going to be a really important breakpoint, so because of that I think this is going to see quite a lot of play. I'm going to put this as an A tier card. Blast Corps Cadets, 2 energy, 2 might, optional cost of 1 and a fury. When you play me, if you pay the additional cost, deal 2 to a unit at a battlefield. Kind of cool 2 for 1. If you can snipe a unit with it, awesome, but you also have to pay 1 and a fury to snipe that unit. It'd be interesting to kind of use this as a way to make combat math favorable and kind of clear your way for some of your just units you want to throw away into a battlefield and trade out with things. This type of effect is quite strong. I just don't know that we've got the support cards to make this great. If we do in future sets, I think this is going to go up, but I'm going to leave this as a B+. You can always play this thing for just 2, and a 2 for 2 might is on rate, and it's got a little bit of flexibility built in with this additional ability. So let's give it a B+. I think we'll see it in some decks for sure. It's just not super strong in my opinion. All right, next up, Minotaur Reckoner, 5 for 5, units can't move to base. This is kind of like a card that it's like an anti-Lucian type thing. I think Lucian and Aurelia have all sorts of crazy combat tricks where they come in, take battlefields and move back out to base so that it's hard to kill their units. This just puts a halt to that. I don't know if it's going to be a sideboard card or not, but already 5 for 5 might is on rate. And it's kind of just like a hate card against certain archetypes, similar to the one where you can't play hiddens or can't reveal hiddens where it is. So I think it's going to see some play. I'm going to give this a B, a solid B right in the middle. It might even be a staple in a lot of the red decks if 5 might does become an important breakpoint area, and kind of plays into the red strategies as well, which is you want to go in and take out their units on the crackbacks rather than being run over the following turn, so not allowing them to retreat's quite strong. Let's give this a B. Next card, Perched Grimworm. 4 energy, 5 might, below rate, but it has a requirement that you can only play it to battlefields you've conquered this turn. I think this requirement is like really narrow. for the discount that you get. So you only get 1 energy cheaper, but you have to have conquered the battlefield. I don't think that's a fair trade-off, and I wouldn't be putting this in any of my decks. There is one upside to this, is that it's a dragon, so those dragon archetypes where we can get cheaper dragons might be really it might be strong in those type of decks, but just as a general kind of card in isolation, not very strong. This gets a C. Recurve bow, 2 energy equipment. When I attack or defend, deal 2 to an enemy unit here. No might increase. Equip costs just standard. I want to like this card. I like the sort of pinging effects, but it's just equivalent to if you gave it Assault 2 or something anyway. Unless there is some kind of damage amplification archetypes like the Red Annie, or you know, on those battlefields, or even like, you know, the Ornn gear that increases the spells or effects damage in like some multiplayer scenario or something like that. Outside of those kind of niche areas, I don't think that this is particularly good. I'd much rather just stick with the Assault 2. It's 1 cheaper, and you're still spreading the same kind of damage around anyway. I guess the upside for this is it works on defense as well, whereas the Assault 2 doesn't. But yeah, two energy equipment for this effect isn't super appealing to me. Yeah, let's give it a B-, C+. Okay, Sudden Storm, 3 energy, deal 2 to a battlefield, deal 2 to a unit at a battlefield. If it's attacking, deal 4 instead. It's got hidden. It's kind of below rate already, so 3, you want to be dealing 3 damage. Playing it 3 cost for 2 is, you're leaving energy on the table there, so it's not appealing. If it's attacking, deal 4 to it instead. Look, I think if you can land it on an attacking unit, it's at rate, but you then got to compare it against something like a Void Seeker, where you pay a power as well. It doesn't have to be attacking, and you get to draw a card. So when you compare it to Void Seeker, I think it comes off second best and will always be beaten out by Void Seeker. The only time that it might be better is if you can hide it and snag an attacking unit with it. Getting 4 damage for 1 power is actually quite good, but it's kind of niche. The fact that it seems like it's a defensive card, right, with the hidden ability, and you need to have an attacking unit to get the maximum value out of it. It sort of doesn't fit the game plan that Red wants to be doing, but I could be wrong. My initial impressions are that it is a C tier card and won't see much play at all. Next, we've got Void Hatchling, 2 for a 2 on rate. If you would reveal cards from your deck, look at the top card first, and you may recycle it, then reveal those cards. Most obviously a Rek'Sai type card. Getting an additional 1 card deep every time you trigger Legend or play Void Rush is good. I think because it says if you would reveal cards, there's only a couple of cards, including the Legend, that reveal at the moment, and so the value of this is tied to how much you can leverage it, which is only, as I said, a couple cards in the deck that you can use to get value out of this. It may be just a decent filler spot in the Rek'Sai deck, so I'm going to give it a B. The power level of this isn't super high and doesn't warp the game or change anything. So yeah, it is what it is. I think it's pretty average, but definitely it's trying to fit into a Rek'Sai type archetype. All right, assembly rig. Recycle a unit from your trash. Play a 3 mech unit token to your base. typically effects like this where you've got unit generators on a stick are quite strong. This one costs a power and an energy to do each turn, but the requirement of recycling a unit from your trash isn't particularly high. I sort of see this fitting well into controlling archetypes. If we have some sort of like control Annie or something that is just like sits back and you can eke out value from this card over multiple turns, then it becomes strong. Something like Darius it might fit into as well, like some control type Darius thing. The problem with it is that it costs 4, so it's going to cost you 4, 5 plus a recycle total, and recycle a unit from trash just to get a 3 might mech unit, which is way below rate. And then it'll take maybe 2 more turns of you doing this for it to catch up and pay itself off in terms of investment that you've made into it, which kind of fits the long grindy game styles of control decks if one was to pop up. So I think it's a strong card for a control archetype, but I don't think we've got any control archetypes in the meta at the moment, and it's looking quite fast the way it's playing out. And so I don't know that we'll see much play of this at all. So I'll give it a B-. I really want to give this higher score, but until we have those type of control decks that can get value out of this isn't going to see much play. All right, on to Draven. Draven Vanquisher. When I win a combat, play a gold gear token exhausted, and when I attack or defend, you may pay a Fury. If you do, give me +2 this turn. 4 for a 4 might is okay. The gold token on combat win is also okay. When I attack or defend, you can pay 1 to pump it to 6, and I think this one is also okay as well. So it's kind of like 3. The rate's all right, and the 2 abilities are on rate. So the fact that you have to pay 1 tip, usually you would want to pay the gold token or something like that to give it +2 might, is also kind of on rate. I don't see the hype with this card. It's just a 4 might or a 6 might body that you have to kind of meet some preconditions to maximize. So it's nothing special. I don't think it's game breaking, and yeah, I'm going to give it. I'm sure people will play a couple of these just to see how they go, but I'm going to give it a B- on my initial impressions. It doesn't seem like it's going to break anything. I mean, it's competing against the other 4 slots. The other 4 drop slots are things like Vayne and that kind of thing, and it even 6 on defense for the following turn isn't enough to get over things like Darius and to beat out things like Darius. So yeah, I just don't see this being very impactful. Next one, Ferris Forerunner. 6 energy and a power for a 6 might. Already, just looking at this top half of the card, I'm not very excited by it. And then Death Knell, play 2/3 mech unit tokens to base. So when it dies, we get another 6 might. So if you can reliably trigger Death Knell, this is a way above raid card. It's really strong. I think I put it in the same sort of ballpark as the old yellow one from the previous set. I can't think of its name at the moment, that gives you 3 soldier tokens or something like that when it dies. It's good if we can trigger Death Knell. The investment though is that you need to pay the cost, then have it die, and then get the mech tokens. It's a mech itself, so it gets all the mech benefits. If this was accelerate or enters ready, I know there's another mech that like lets you play mechs entered ready, then this becomes huge because the opponent can't play around it and you can just ram it into stuff, trade out, and get extra mechs value. But just in isolation, I'm going to put this as a B minus. Longsword, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already. 2 energy, 1 power, quick draw equipment for +2. This is going to be in a lot of decks, I think. I think this is an A tier card. The fact that you can reuse the +2 might is exactly what the red archetypes want. Going in, pumping your unit, have it die and the equipment come back, and then being able to reattach it to the cheap stuff that you've been using in the early turns that are no longer a big threat, and being able to trade them out for some value is like really, really strong. And the quick draw part of this is also what makes this a powerhouse. So I'm giving this one an A. We're definitely going to see lots of it. And there's not too much equipment hate in the current card pool. So until that happens, this is going to dominate. Piercing Light. This is almost like a Falling Star 2.0. We've got 2 energy, 1 power, deals 2 to a unit at a battlefield, then 2 to up to 1 other unit. So the second part of this can hit stuff in base and repeat for the same cost. It's pretty much exactly on the same rate curve as Falling Star. So this one is 2 and 1 for 4, and you can go up to 4 and 2 for 8, which is the same as the 2 and 2 for 6 equivalent of Falling Star. The only upside to this is that if we can find a way to discount the repeat cost through things like Purple Ezreal or the battlefield that reduces repeat costs, then this becomes more valuable. But until then, it's on the same kind of parity as Falling Star, in my opinion, and it'll see some play. I think what will determine whether decks will go this or Falling Star will just depend on how all of those mites line up for the units and what the important breakpoints are for the meta, and it'll just be one or the other, whichever one they play. So Piercing Light, I mean, Falling Star is kind of like an A minus card in my opinion, and I think I put this in the same bucket, so this will be an A minus as well. Rel, tank, when I attack you may play an equipment with energy cost no more than 2, ignore it and attach it to me. So things like this longsword, which we just saw before, we can go in with Rel and just play a free longsword attached. Good for the equipment archetype decks, and on rate 4 for 4 with tank. This should see a fair bit of play in my opinion. Once you, the other thing is that it's when I attack you may play the equipment. So if you can get multiple attacks with this, you can get multiple triggers and multiple sources of value, which I think makes this card quite strong. This is a A tier card, but in isolation, but I don't know that we'll find a deck that can use her just yet. I hope we do. It's a good solid unit with upside. Leave her at A. Rengar. Now this one got me excited. So Rengar is 3 and a power for 3. With Assault 2, so 5 on offense, can be played to a battlefield you're attacking. So it's kind of like the inverse Shen. Shen's on defense with shield. This one can be played on offense with Assault, and same kind of cost as Shen. So Shen's a sleeper card in my view. This is also a bit of a sleeper card, but I think the cool thing about this is the reaction part of it, because of things like Annie, where you can ready 2 runes at end of your turn, and then any sort of trigger or ability that your opponent does, you can react and play this and use your energy on your opponent's turn to play units, which we haven't been able to do before. It's only been spells. So I think this fills a really, really cool hole for the Annie decks. yeah, I think it's quite solid. I'm going to give it an A minus. It's not overly powerful, but it does a really unique job, and it's definitely going to see some play. All right, Rumble, 4 for 4. It's a Yordle and a mech. Your mechs have assault, and when it conquers, you can recycle another friendly unit to play a mech from your trash, reduce its cost by the might of the unit you just recycled. These types of effects are hard to value unless we can like cheat out might. Now, and what I mean by that is like if we have a spell that can increase the might, we can conquer and recycle and play our big mechs from trash. The thing though is that a lot of the red might enablers are assault, which go away at the end of combat. And we'll have to check the rulings on whether or not it is before or after the conquer happens, when all the like might and stuff gets reduced back to normal from assault. So if you conquer an empty battlefield, obviously you're not getting any of the assault benefits from it. But there's kind of like some stuff you can play around to get big units out of your trash here. It's solid. I think if you ignore the bottom half of it and just look at 4 for 4, mechs have assault, it's a playable card. It'll be a B tier card in my view, unless we can figure out a way to really abuse this bottom half here. Okay, almost to the end. That's Rumble again. Just talked about that one. Junebreaker, 7 and power for 7 might. If you have 2 or fewer cards in your hand, I enter ready when I hold draw 2. Now you can think of this as like a 6 might with mandatory accelerate. A lot of the decks will have 2 or fewer cards when in your hand. This kind of fits the Jinx archetype where you want to be low on cards. A ready 7 at the 7 point is pretty strong. If you can get a hold out of this card and draw 2, that's just massive. I think being able to untap, draw 2 from Jinx, draw 2 from this Junebreaker can get you right back in the game from behind. The question is, how easy is it going to be to hold a battlefield with this Junebreaker? And I think it's going to come up a non-insignificant amount of the time. So I think we're going to get there. Let's say, if I put a number on it, like 30% of the time we'd be able to make a hold with this thing, just because it's so massive. So I think it's got a lot of upside, but I don't think it's like crazy strong. Let's just chuck it right in the middle at a B tier card. On rate, it's pretty good, and if you can get a hold, it becomes an A tier card. But if you can't, it's an overcosted dum-dum. So, all right, Lucian, 3 for a 2 might. Initially undervalued. It must have a really strong ability. Assault 1. When I attack, deal damage equal to my assault to an enemy unit here. Okay, so this one, obviously the first thing that it's yelling out to us is like, play me with cleave, play me with blood rush, and play me with the equipment that gives assault. These are, so in isolation by itself, this card's not very strong. It needs other enablers, right? It needs other cards to kind of bump up its power and get maximum value out of this. Even if you do, let's for example say we cleave it and we go in, we can hit something for 4 and then it will deal 6 to the second unit or the third unit or something. So it'll let you run over 10 might unit with a cleave. I guess that's not too bad. So it's like you probably want to be trading this out versus huge units. If that's its role to play in the decks, I don't know. It's also just really vulnerable, right? Like when you play this thing at 2 in the back line, it dies to Bellows Breath, it dies to the Piercing Light that we just looked at dies to Falling Star in the back line. I think that's too big of a downside to want to play this card. So I'm going to give it a B minus. I think people will try it out. I don't think it's going to be particularly strong. All right. 2 more cards. Rek'Sai. 3 for 3. Accelerate and Assault. This is, before we get to the last piece of text, this is an interesting spot that it puts it in, because if you compare it to something like Kai'Sa Accelerate being a 5 energy, 1 power, accelerate 4, this is a 4 energy, 1 power, accelerate 4. So accelerate 4 when it's got Assault. So it's 1 energy cheaper, which means it can come out on your second turn if you're going first and you go 2-drop into Rek'Sai Accelerate, enabling you to get both battlefields on your second turn, which is quite strong. Friendly units played from anywhere other than a player's hand have Accelerate. Now, initially I thought this was like strong when your units enter ready, but it just gives the Accelerate keyword. You still need to pay the 1 energy and 1 power of the card's domain for whatever you play from another location. So if you reveal, you know, a 2-drop, you've still got to pay the 2 from Rek'Sai Legend, as well as the 1 power, 1 energy accelerate cost of that to get value out of it. So not as hype on this last line as I initially was when I first read it. It would have been better if it was just units played from anywhere other than a player's hand enter ready, but that's not the case. So yeah, look, I think I'm going to give this a B+. I want to like it more. The only upside I can see is the ability to conquer on your turn 2, along with another unit to take both battlefields. I think that as a tempo play, this is a really strong card, but outside of that, if you draw it like a couple turns later, I mean, I'd much rather something else than this. So I'm going to give it a B. See some play just as a feel. Okay, last card in the Furies is Skyfall of, I don't even want to pronounce this, Arion. 3 energy gear. Equip. My hold effects are also conk effects and vice versa. First thing jumps to mind here is things like Kai'Sa, right? Like going in, conquering, drawing a card, passing the turn. If you get to hold with it, you get to draw another card as well. I'm sure people will try and find ways to abuse this with things like Tryndamere or any of the other units that allow you to score extra points through holds or conquers, even like the Purple Draven. I think the Purple Draven is when I win combats, so it's not even a hold or a conquer effect. So because of that, we need to have some printed units that this is broken for in order for this to be really strong. At the moment, there's not really any super appealing targets for the cost of, like, let's say you even want to equip it to Kai'Sa, you go pay 3, waste a turn playing this, and then an extra energy and power to equip it just to get an extra draw like that. That's way overpriced, and I don't think I want to go through all that trouble just to get an extra card and a couple of extra might. So I'm going to give this a C tier at the moment. I don't think we'll see much play of this until they print a unit that we can use this to abuse. Right, that's it for my initial impressions of the Fury cards in Spiritforged. If you agree or disagree with any of these, let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.